Hi and welcome to this episode of Resilient Voices. This is a special toolbox series where MaryAnn Voli and I sit down and actually talk about more practical hands-on what can you do in the moment when you actually are faced with stress and overwhelm. So you all met MaryAnn Voli if you listened to the first episode. She's a dear friend and she's also an executive coach and a breathwork and mindfulness coach. So in this episode, you will hear more our conversation about what can you do. We're going to share tools, tips, and tricks. So with that said, just tune in. This episode and a couple of more are going to have a bit of a different focus. It's going to be more into the how we can work with resilience and how we can actually, like in the moment, it's how we can strengthen it, and we're also going to talk about what you can do afterwards. But today we're going to start off with MaryAnn Voli as my co-host and guest today. We're going to talk about mainly in the moment, aren't we?
Yeah, how do we deal with when something is stressful or we're feeling under the weather or just when we're not feeling very well? What can we do about it?
Yeah. Then we can use the FEAR acronym, can't we? Yeah, just forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. Which one do we choose here?
I think both.
Both.
Because there are times when we need to forget everything and rise, and sometimes we do need to run.
Yeah.
So if you need to run. If you need to fight.
Yeah. So, but now we're really going to talk about, obviously, we're getting to the resilience in the coping mechanism or tools and to actually cope with overwhelm and stress in the moment.
Yeah, because we hear that a lot, right? We hear, oh, just be calm or relax or, you need to be resilient. But my question always comes is how? How can I become resilient when, there's this storm, when I feel like I'm falling and I just feel like I do not see the light out of the tunnel. So this is what we're going to be talking about, sharing some tools so that you can reset your nervous system and manage what's coming at you in the best possible way.
Yeah. So we're going to, really give you, like MaryAnn said, some tools. And we're going to talk about like breathing, mindset, how we can use the body and just really, because it's all about the nervous system, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So as I'm not sure how many of you know, but we have in our autonomic nervous system, we have the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is the system that gets us running or fighting when we're in a moment of stress, or as our evolutionary ancestors had to deal with. There's a tiger coming, you run or you fight it. Better run it.
Probably run.
Better run.
Yeah.
But most of the time we were in the rest and digest, which is the parasympathetic nervous system. The only thing is nowadays, our mind gets us into seeing a lot of things as tigers because of our conditioning, because of our past, because of our childhood. So we might see someone who criticizes us as a lion who wants to get us, when it's not really that. Yeah. They just have their own opinion. But that's where we want to be doing is anything that regulates the nervous system and takes us out of the sympathetic and fight or flight and puts us into the rest, digest, which then connects our thinking mind to be able to make decisions.
Yeah. And we also have another addition to that, and that's the freeze mode. That's when we come to ostrich that just really put the head in the sand and just sort of, we cannot do anything.
Yes.
And it's all about survival, isn't it?
Yes.
But it may not be so functional.
No, freezing. Sometimes, I think it depends. Freezing can be a moment in which you decide you're not going to do anything. But if freezing is putting your emotions under the carpet, is putting the situations under the carpet, if it's going to, drink a bottle of wine because you don't want to feel anything or because you want to spend, shopping therapy is great. But if you're spending money that you don't have or spending money that you could be using for something like that really, really inspires you and experiences. So there's a difference there. So numbing our emotions and the stress and overwhelm doesn't work in the mid or long term. It might work in the short term.
Yeah, very short
later.
term. Yeah. So why don't we just start with like this with pause and breathe, how we can just access our breath in a way, because that's one of us the best tools we have, because obviously when we get too stressed, the breath is helping us by running and really to flee the scene of the crime or whatever. So normally when we get too stressed, it comes up in the chest and you get really shallow, and that's because it has a purpose. But in the moment, it may not help us if we're actually sitting with a coworker that we don't like, or someone that's been criticizing us, that we feel triggered, or a situation where you have a client or a customer that's really verbally attacking you. Maybe you want to just sort of use another.
So there's a couple breathing. Breathing is one of the most powerful, and guess what? It's free.
Yeah.
You don't need to go to a pharmacy. You don't need to go anywhere. You just need to go under your nose and breathe in certain ways. There are different ways that you can breathe so that you can calm the nervous system, so you can calm the heart rate variability. So let me share one, which is one of my favorite.
Yeah.
It's called coherent breathing. And what we're doing is we're breathing in to the count of 5, and we're breathing out to the count of 5. Actually, let me just make a parenthesis there. You know how many times people say, well, just take a deep breath.
Yeah.
And people go, well, that type of breath is actually activating breaths. Because so when you go, and your in-breath is much longer than your out-breath, you're activating stress, you're activating. So if you want to calm, you actually want to be breathing at the same rate as breathing in and breathing out.
Yeah.
And you want to be breathing in, it's called the LSD breathing, which is light, slow, and deep. Yeah. Remember that. And always from the nose, that goes without saying. So by light means that you can barely feel that you're breathing. Slow, very slow, because you're counting to 5, and deep because you're breathing into the diaphragm. So let's do that together. This you can do with your eyes open or your eyes closed. So even when you're talking to somebody that you feel you're getting triggered, you can just start breathing. So I'm going to count to 5 for a couple of rounds. So breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathing out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathing out, 2, 3, 4, 5. If 5 is too much, you can start with 4. You want to make sure that you're breathing in the whole count. If you're doing 1, 2, 3, and then holding to 5, you don't want to be doing that. You want to be breathing in all the way. So slowly to 4 or 5, and then breathing out. This is a very powerful practice. We've just done it. How do you feel?
Feel really relaxed. Yeah. And one of my favorite, we're talking about this with different breathing technique, it's the box breathing. It's also where you actually breathe, and that's the same with that. But normally you use 4. So you inhale on 4, hold your breath for 4, exhale for 4, and hold for 4. And then you keep on doing that. So do you want to breathe with me?
I'd love to breathe with you.
Yes. So you inhale on 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. And then you can continue with and doing that. Just as the pattern. And that's also a way of your... tell me, how did that feel for you?
It feels really relaxed.
Yeah.
Actually, I even feel the energy. Before I felt I was speaking fast.
Yeah.
Now I feel like, there's a sense of, relaxation, rest, ease, and peace.
Yeah, that's good. Because I think that also with actually, if you can close your eyes and just really... You can almost feel like you're drawing this line, like the box, and just follow that. And obviously, if you're really stressed, just one set of 4 breaths is not going to. So you want to do it to a couple of minutes, and maybe up to 10 minutes if you're really up here, really want to need to calm down. So that's super powerful. And as well, what you said to begin with is that that the in-breath, if that's longer than the out-breath, that activates the sympathetic system. So really just what you can do as well, just one easy way of doing it is just to breathe in and then you extend the out-breath and just make that like longer than your in-breath. And maybe you want to add like a sigh to that.
Which takes me to the physiological side.
Yeah.
Which has been made famous by the Andrew Huberman. that we all know, or if we don't know, do check him out. He has some great podcasts. But the physiological sigh has been shown to be one of the most sort of stress busters in the moment. You need to do only 2 or 3. And it goes like this. You take a deep breath in through your nose, then you take another sip of air, and then you release it through the mouth as long as possible. So it looks like this. Feels so good.
It is good. And that's the amazing thing, I think, with actually when you connect to your breath and really do some conscious relaxation breathings, that it's that you really feel it, and it's a good feeling.
Yeah. And there's so many, but we won't go into these today. There are more, so more coming. But I think one of the main things is just check in. Once in a while, just check in. How am I breathing?
Yeah.
So if you're in a discussion that's activating you and you're feeling and you're getting into your mind, just check, how am I breathing? And the minute you notice how you're breathing, then you might notice, as you said before, it's in the chest, it's shallow. And the minute you notice that, then you can actually start bringing it lower into the diaphragm and calming, and that already will shift. So that is, and that you can do with your eyes open. You can do in the moment if you're having a discussion that you're not very happy about.
Yeah. That's good. And I was just thinking about when we talk about pause, so I think we can just sort of move into that. It's just this with the concept of just pause and reset, or just a time out. That's also very powerful if you feel like if you're in that discussion.
Yes. And actually many times in communication training, because a lot of dis-ease, a lot of discomfort comes from interactions, relationships, right?
Yeah.
And many times we get caught in sort of this vicious circle, and we go, and we all go down an uncomfortable, how would you call it?
Spiral?
A spiral downwards.
Yeah.
And the idea is sometimes just feel, this is not going anywhere, so I'm taking time out. And when you're giving yourself time out, you're also giving the other person time out. And just say, right now I don't feel the conversation is going in a good way. Let's take a break. And let's reconvene in 5 minutes when we've had time to digest everything that has been said, and when we've had time to really think about what we really want to say. And this, you can do it consciously and actually call out a timeout. But I love your story about your son.
Yeah, my son has always had a, like growing up and going to school, he had a challenge with, he needed a timeout because he's got like information overload and just really struggle with the demands and the whole setting in the classroom. So he had the permission to go to the toilet. So he's always used actually that as a valid reason. And he had like a green card or whatever, I don't know what color it was, but that he could just show the teacher. So he was allowed to. That was one of his the things that a tool for him to help him cope with school, really. So he went to the toilet, and he's always done that. And I started early with him. Like he was, like before I understood that, but he used the toilet. Like, I need to go, and it's always okay to go to the toilet.
Yes, yeah.
So if you don't like have the courage, if you don't want to say what MaryAnn just suggested, just say that I just need a break, just a biological pause or whatever you want to call it. I need to go. So, and then you have and then when you go to the toilet, use some of the breathing then. Just, okay, whatever you need to just sort of calm down and just, and in that heated moment, maybe it is just in through your mouth and just extend your out breath, and maybe with a sigh, like the physiological sigh, because that's just so instant, isn't it?
Yeah, it's powerful. And even just the pause. You could be in a conversation.
Yeah.
And you feel like you just pause. Take a drink of water and just see what that happens. It's a disruptor of this autopilot of just going down that spiral. So, and there's something else that you could do if you go to the toilet.
Yeah, do you want to, is that with the movement that you want to talk about? Or you want to show? I knew that. So, yeah.
So this is a hack that so 2023 was the toughest year of my life. And for many reasons. And this hack, besides the timeout, just going out for a walk, so walking, movement, but I realized, and when I learned this was very powerful, because when animals get stressed, What do animals do, Jessica?
They move, they shake their body. I mean, they're really...
Yeah. And what do we humans do?
We freeze. We get all tight and just really and forget to breathe as well.
Yeah. So we forget to breathe. So the first thing is breathe.
Yeah.
The second is when something is stress arises, it's cortisol. And cortisol is a hormone that asks for movement.
Yeah.
And we're human beings, right? We're animals in our makeup. So it's the same thing. When stress comes into the body, go to the bathroom and shake. Just shake. You can even shake like horses. Horses, they go like this. So just shake all that. And so that's a really good thing.
So maybe
good thing that you can do in the bathroom, or just go and take a brisk walk or run. Or the important thing is that you move your body and just get that cortisol moving through.
Yeah. That's a great one. I love that. And if you're really want to add something to it, I plug my some great music in, and then I can also dance instead. If you feel like just shaking, just moving your body without anything, maybe dancing, maybe a really, really good feel-good song could help you with that as well.
Yeah, because then you have the feel good.
Yeah.
So because music can manage. Music manages our emotions. So if we put the music that makes us feel strong and powerful. Absolutely.
Yeah. So and also it's about really getting in contact with yourself and calm your system. And I think one way of doing that as well is you're really grounding yourself. And one of my favorite things is that the five senses check-in, and that's really, really powerful as well. So it's 5 things you want to see. Like you can name 5 things you see. It's like I see a microphone, a computer, a woman, I mean, whatever you see. So just sort of name those 5 things and things you can touch. Yeah, I can probably touch four things, and 3 things I can hear. I can hear my voice. I can hear maybe some noise outside, whatever you can hear.
You can hear my earrings tingle.
Yeah, or maybe you, listener, can hear MaryAnn's earrings. And then also 2 things you can smell. And 1 thing you can taste. And that's really a way of activating all your senses. And that's also a really grounding technique.
Yeah. Because it all comes down to, do you know why zebras don't get ulcers? Do you know why zebras don't get ulcers?
Nope.
So imagine, I'm going to invite all of you to imagine a zebra and all its family and all its friends and families, and they're all hanging out in the savannah and they're comfortably grazing in the grass. Suddenly, a pack of lions come. What does the zebra do? Exactly what we talked about before. In this case, it doesn't shake, it runs. Okay, so all the zebras run and they do what we could be doing. Then the lions will pick on one zebra. That zebra gets eaten. That zebra is not going to get an ulcer because it's gone.
It's gone.
What do all the other zebras do? They shake off that cortisol, that stress, and they go back to grazing. Yeah. And they go back to the body, to the senses, to the eating, to the being, right? Yeah. What do we humans do with this beautiful mind we have? We start creating stories. I can't believe the lion came after me. Who the hell does that lion think he is? Oh, shoot, what did I do? I should not have gone there. I should not have done this. I should be this. They probably don't like me. And we create all these stories, and then the stress becomes chronic.
Yeah.
And that's why we get ulcers. So really coming into the moment, the body, and just being careful with that story-making mind. Careful with that.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, we say that human beings, we're so smart and we're intelligent. But we're the only species on this planet, as far as I know, that can take a situation that's happened, that's actually past. It's past. It's over. It's done. It's no longer, I survived this lion. And then we can keep on living in that situation and just keep on causing just
pain and
suffering, and that eventually stays in your body as a trauma, which means that you're going to carry that forever and ever unless you work with that trauma.
Yeah. And that's where here we're talking about what to do in the moment.
Yeah.
And I think one of the series will be how do you start preparing yourself and releasing the trauma, and also preparing yourself for when something unpleasant happens that is no longer unpleasant. Or when somebody's mean to you, and I've had a very recent experience, when someone is mean to you, you know it's their stuff. It's their wound. They just don't take it personally anymore. And that's a journey.
Yeah. And that's one of my favorite expressions that I've used a lot. It's like, yeah, you know what? It's not my fucking problem.
I love that.
Because it also helps you one thing. I don't know what the word fuck means to most people, but it's a way to actually shock your nervous system as well. I mean, your pathways, because my God, you don't use fuck like that. So when you use like power words like that, they also help you to actually shake something up. And it's like, no, it's not my fucking problem. It's her problem. She's the one who's carrying that problem or whatever. Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to INFP, and I'm just trying to see if there. No, but you have to say the whole thing, right? It's not my fucking problem.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, and it is true with the F word. Like I say F because but just for me using it means that whoever hears me say it, even my brain is like, okay, stop and listen.
Yeah.
Because it's a very powerful word.
It is a powerful word.
And beautiful.
And when it's used intentionally, it actually, or if you have another word that has the same like meaning, that it's something that disrupts things, that's a bit maybe forbidden, maybe a bit, you don't use that word. Like
it has energy, right? Because words have vibrations.
Yeah.
And I think, but that's a whole other topic.
Yeah. But no, I love that. That's one of those things that when you feel like
I love it.
It's a way of distance yourself to the other person's situation and problem.
Yeah. And I think once you've done that, then you can distance, then you can even turn around and say, almost even have compassion for that person.
Yeah.
But I think before having compassion for that person, the first thing is have compassion for ourselves, right?
Yeah. And how do we do that?
Compassion is it's one of my favorite practices. So I'm going to just share something. For those of you who are not seeing, but they're just hearing us, I'm going to invite you to take your left hand and make a fist. Okay? So you make a fist with your left hand, and that's you. And then with the other hand, with your right hand, you're going to try and open the fist. Come on, you should feel like that. You shouldn't be doing this. You got to do this. Come on, you got to be loving yourself. You got to be nice to yourself. And just try and open and see what happens to you. So what happens to your left hand, Jessica?
It's very hard to open, isn't it?
Do you feel like it's almost tougher?
Yeah.
So now I'm going to invite you to take that right hand and put it underneath the left hand, almost holding it. Yeah. Just notice as you hold it what happens and say, you know what? I've got you. You're doing the best that you can.
Yeah, you're safe.
You're safe.
Yeah.
I've got you, and you don't need to change right now. Just be with the beautiful, imperfect, what I call perfectly imperfect human that you are, and it's okay.
Yeah.
What happens to your left hand?
Yeah, it relaxes.
It relaxes, and it doesn't mean somebody wants it, but it doesn't open. But the intention is not to open it; is to feel safe, to feel seen, to feel heard, and then from there, you can have a conversation and go there. So compassion for me is exactly that hand, is holding ourselves and saying, I'm doing the best that I can. Oof, this is painful. Yeah. This conversation is difficult.
Yeah.
And if you can, if you're on your own, just a hand or two hands on your heart. And also another thing about self-compassion. So there are 3 elements to self-compassion. Yeah. Common humanity. Suffering is part of being human. Pain is part of being human. And I'm not the only one. 2 is being able to be mindful and aware of that. And 3 is that kindness. Yeah. So being able to hold that hand and say, it's okay. It's you're not perfect and it's okay.
Yeah. And this is hard, but I am doing my best. Yeah. And it's okay. I don't know. I haven't got it all figured out. But that's okay and that's fine. And I think a good thing to actually use in this as well is quite often it's hard to speak kind to yourself. We're quite good at sort of that inner critic pops out and just gives us a hard time. And I always say that it's like I'm speaking to a friend. What would I say to a friend? So be your best friend and pretend that you're speaking to a friend if you cannot be speaking kind words to yourself, because that is easier.
Yeah. And actually, if we spoke to our friends the way we speak to ourselves, we'd have 0 friends.
Yeah.
So the practice, and to be honest, and this goes a little bit on what we will talk about, like practicing, right? And building that resilience, not just in the moment. So in the moment, yes, a hand in the heart, just remembering that sort of hand holding the fist. And then there's the practice before. So of just developing that. And for me, compassion, we were laughing before the podcast, but I really like myself. I really accept and respect and love myself the way I am. And I know I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect. But that's part of the beauty. The self-compassion practice in the moment and before, it's very, very powerful. And another thing is friends. Yeah. I know just having good friends, and I'm so blessed to have Jessica as a friend. I remember once calling her, and I was just sobbing. Like last November, I left you a voice message, right? And I was just sobbing like there was no tomorrow, and just knowing that I could, leave, I could sob with someone who just saw me, accepted me, respected me, and loved me exactly the way I am. Because I can do that to myself, but it's also very powerful to have a good, strong sense of people. And I'm talking close friends, and there's a community.
Yeah.
But having close friends that you can just be yourself with. And sometimes to do that is to just, be yourself and know that your really close friends will hold that space.
Yeah, and I think as well it's important to say that resilience is not done or built in solitude. We need community. We need people. We need to be seen, heard. And sometimes, even though that this is what you do this a lot for your clients and in your work, but it's sometimes we're all human beings, aren't we? So we need that friend. We need that reminder. It's like, but you got this.
Yeah. And it's okay to be in a bad moment.
Yeah.
And who says it's bad? It's just an unpleasant moment. So that's so important.
Yeah. And also with having this, with the self-compassion and self-talk, it's also about what you do there. And I think that's very, with the fist, when you hold your fist, it's actually calms your nervous system. And that's all we want to achieve here, isn't it?
Yeah.
To really...
Feels, like you said, feel safe.
Feel safe.
Yeah, because when we don't feel safe, then the defenses go up, the conditioning gets activated. We go into that autopilot that just doesn't take us where we want to go.
And I'm also thinking that when you're in, if it's a situation where you get super overwhelmed and you're just really almost like you freeze, you feel like it's like fear is taking over and you really want to just check out. You do. So
sort of like a panic attack?
Yeah,
maybe?
It's a bit like a panic attack. So, and really, so what are those things? You mentioned that before when we talk about pause and reset, like drink water.
Yeah.
But they're just really break down it into not seeing the whole, like, oh my God, am I have to do this? Do I have to continue this conversation? It's like, no, maybe just take a breath, take two.
Yeah.
Go for a walk. This would actually break things down into smaller steps.
Yeah, there's another thing that sometimes with breath, especially if you're going through a panic attack, you might feel like you cannot breathe.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the symptoms of panic attack. It's like, so even asking yourself to breathe might be very difficult. So it could also be but it could be to stand up, feel the feet on the ground, and feel the body. Another interesting and very powerful exercise is, and I'm going to invite you now to do this, is put your...
The
index finger with your
thumb,
touching your thumb, and just now touch it very, very, very slowly. So touch it, you can feel the ridges, and just bring in your full attention out of your mind and into the body. And just shift your attention, so get into a resource state. I remember once I was diving, it was my 100th dive, and I was so excited. I'd put a lot of, expectations. I was in Mozambique diving, and it was super exciting. And after 100 dives, it had never happened to me. I suddenly felt like there's no air. There's no air in my tank. So I told the dive master, I said, there's no air. And I just started panicking. She gave me her air and it wasn't working. I'm like, it's not working for you either. And what she did was absolutely beautiful. She also just shifted my attention and went, oh, look over there. So I looked over there and there was a beautiful fish. And the minute my attention went to the fish, and she did it really quickly, right? So I didn't have time to say, no, what? I looked, and the minute I looked, and then I felt like I could take that breath again. So really, it's about getting out of whatever's activated the panic attack. So it could be the body, it could be the 5 senses that Jessica, you talked about, or it could be movement. And so sometimes breath might not be the space there because you feel you cannot breathe. And if you're asking yourself to breathe, it might activate it even more. So go into the body, distract yourself, go for a walk, shake. You want to get everything back into the body and into the present moment. And then once that gets calmed down, then you can start putting some of the other breathing practices.
Yeah, because the step is too big to actually get into that. Yeah.
I mean, as far as panic anxiety, there's a lot. There's a lot there, but just some of the tools is just moving the attention. Sometimes, actually, I remember during the 5 years in which I was building the retreat center, there were a lot of moments of stress. And I had my big white dog, and she was my resource So by resource is just finding something that calms your nervous system. So I remember once I was very near burnout, and I was like, I could barely breathe. I was crying. I was in burnout, building a retreat center. That's kind of funny, but there are a lot of elements there. And so I went out to Bianca, my white dog, and I started petting her.
Yeah.
And she just got close to me, and it just, it really grounded me. So again, it's finding things that ground you. It could be talking to someone. It could be looking at doing something. It could be getting a pencil. So it's also good, and that's part of also of the pre. What is your resource toolbox that brings you into the present moment?
Yeah. That is beautiful. And also I think that, I mean, the power of words as well, but maybe not in the panicky stage, but just the this within a talk, and just this will pass. I mean, just telling yourself, comfort yourself. This, and nothing lasts forever. Not the good times doesn't last forever. The bad times doesn't last forever. I mean, so nothing lasts forever. It's all impermanent, isn't it? Yeah. So just, this is temporary. This will pass. I've gone through difficult times before. I can do this. And just really build that belief and knowingness. I think that even the darkest moments, they will pass. They will change into something different.
Yeah. Which you're reminding me of also nature. Yeah. Spending time in nature, and when you were saying about the sort of that big view, that everything is impermanent and everything will pass. I remember I would go out, I would shake. And then somehow birds were appearing. This was in nature, right? But birds would appear, and I would follow the bird, and my attention would go to the bird, and suddenly it was not anymore into that discomfort or what the other person did, and so my message from the birds and nature was sort of like the big view and the high view and the long view, and again, sometimes when you're in the midst, that might not come. So go out in nature, and nature has a very powerful sort of sense of the present moment, of right here, right now, and grounding. So if you are near a park or you're somewhere where there's plants or something, hang out with nature, animals. Again, if you don't like animals or you're scared of animals. But yeah, anything that you can to ground, resource, and having, or maybe there's an image or a word, as you're saying, this too shall pass. And just we're sharing with you a toolkit, and then you also have your toolkit, right, of what works for you. Yeah. So just make sure that you to have that at hand if you do feel that sense of overwhelm.
Yeah. There are lots of tools, and I think that we talked about many, and I think that is, like you said, MaryAnn, that maybe you have your own tools, maybe you have your own toolbox, but a lot of people may not have it and may not understand that to have a toolbox for difficult, overwhelming situation is quite easy. It's not, you don't really need, you have it all. I mean, as long as you have your breath, as long as you're alive, you're breathing, you have your breath. I mean, and just use that. And if you can use that consciously.
Yeah, and the body, right?
The breath and the body. Yeah, the breath and the body. And just knowingness, the knowingness that, this shall pass as well. This is just temporary.
Yeah. Something else that I share, and I've started doing it a lot, and I share with my clients, is sometimes just smile.
Yeah.
You fake it. Yeah. Fake the smile. I was just reading a beautiful quote by Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a beautiful Buddhist from Vietnam. I can't remember what it was now, but something of the way you feel inspires your body, or the way you move your body can inspire the way you feel.
Yeah.
So you know that you can actually smile. Like right now, just smile. And just see how you feel. Yeah. And I do that even when we're doing Qigong or we're doing other things with my clients or during the coaching or the breathing. It's always like, just let's put a smile in there and just know, because we take ourselves so seriously.
Yeah.
And there's a sense, this is more about after, so I guess we'll get to the after. But I was going to say gratitude is also a very powerful one. But these are more after and before practices.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in the moment, just smile.
Yeah.
And you're like, there's nothing to smile about. Yeah, you're right. And you're not. Choices.
There are choices. And knowing that your brain doesn't know the difference from a vividly, like a thought that you really think vividly, and what actually happens. So if you can use that, and a smile actually do send like all these chemicals into your system. So it actually will create a different release of endorphins and in your body. So it will eventually release oxytocin, which is a feel-good hormone. So if you can flood your system with that instead of the stress hormone, then you have a winner. So you can actually, if you've got a vivid imagination, you can transport yourself from a situation that's too painful. But obviously, we don't want you to like run from a situation, but it could be a coping mechanism in the moment. In the moment. So that's really, because what we really want to say here, that you should not just hide and not face the situation, because that will build your resilience. That will be your goal. That's where you get the strength that we're going to talk about in the next toolbox episode. So I will leave it to that, but you really want to you don't want to avoid the difficult situations, the challenges, because then you're losing out the golden nugget, the gold from the experience.
Yeah. And there, I think there's a thing around working with and being with.
Yeah.
So being with is exactly that, being with whatever is challenging and sort of building those resilient muscles. Mm-hmm. Then there are times, as we've mentioned before, where you want to work with, so you actually don't want to be with it, because it might be too uncomfortable in the moment.
Yeah.
And that's where you do the resourcing, you do the breathing, you do everything that we've shared, and that's just to shake it off. And then when there's more calm, then you can journal or other things to sort of see what it was. And then sometimes some things just pass and you don't really need to deal with them. But it's all about that self-reflection.
So thank you. So with that, I hope that you got some good tools, and that you got some really helpful tools really for you to work in the moment when you end up in a challenging situation. And with that said, just go out there, be beautiful, be resilient, and just enjoy life.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure. And do let us know how these practices go. And as someone said, do not take our word for this. Try it out.
Yes.
And then you'll see.
Yeah, you will. So thank you so much for listening. And until next episode, be great. I encourage you to subscribe to Resilient Voices and follow along on social media, where we'll be sharing updates, resources, and stories from our growing community of resilient women. And if you ever feel inspired or have a story to share, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to hear from you. You can also use the hashtag Resilient Voices to connect with other listeners who are on their own journeys of transformation.